It's very imperative that you have some experts, some SMEs who are dedicated to doing it. LEED is one example which Dr. did elaborate on. Apart from LEED, there's well certification, and one healthy workplace can bring the productivity of employees goes up by almost 80%.
One of the biggest success points for India as a country, we have a tendency of helping others. We have a tendency of not saying no. Multitasking is something that Indians have adapted much more than any other country people that you see around.
Even the men can multitask here, is what you're saying.
Yes.
I thought it was just something reserved for ladies. At least that's what my wife tells me. I think often people, when they think of facility management, they think that it kind of sits behind the scenes. I very much see it as a strategic driver for the business goals. Now, when the world or the workplace is on fire, I think that strategy is king in those instances. So how can you make sure that FM is seen as a strategic initiative? When it comes to technology, you mentioned the example of the coffee mug, and the technology could detect when it was empty and therefore send someone to clean it. That's very close to being aware of human performance. We have the ability, plus there's all the wearables, Internet of Things and everything. So we have all this technology, but we don't have the permission. The employees don't have the permission yet. I'm sure they're looking for wonderful ways. I'm sure PwC would love to find a way where they could get permission from everybody, because they became quite famous during COVID of tracking keystroke and getting in a bit of bother in the media for that, and quite rightly so. But then where is the line between we want you to perform at your best to being a big brother? Welcome, gentlemen, to episode 3 of the OMG podcast, here to explore everything about the diversity that is India and showcase it to the rest of the world. So thank you for taking the time to be part of this episode.
Pleasure.
And Nilesh, in particular, I understand that you've actually flown in from Pune, and it's your holiday that we're taking right now.
It's festivity time, so enjoying it with you guys.
And Diwali was this week, so yeah, perfect time to be traveling, I suppose. Cool. So the topic is workplace, a world on fire. We have lots of geopolitical issues that are currently rocking the world in different hemispheres, and I think it's positioning, or at least that's what we've got from the previous 2 episodes, that India really is this kind of safe space for global corporates to call their home, or at least to have satellite offices here. So based on that, would you like to run with your experience of kind of workplace of a world on fire?
Absolutely. With the world on fire is not only a phrase today. It actually is. Not only with the geopolitical situation across the globe, it is with the pandemics that we are fighting, with the shortages, with the turmoil which the world is going through.
Yeah.
And that's what we people deal with every day. India becomes a safe bet there because, one, it's politically staged, and the developments which are happening here. The sheer size of the population provides you with the number of talent, or rather a repetitive talent in the young age. Number 2, the infrastructure growth which is happening, and then the DOT or the TOD concepts which are in. The DOT is development to the target, or targeted development, wherever it is required. Since it's an emerging economy, the fastest growing economy, there's a scope to develop wherever there's a requirement, or to develop in a way where the requirement is. Providing environment which is good and healthier, providing safe transit, safe place to work is not a task. It is easier. With the growing demand of space, with the growing demand of real estate, and the growing demand of talent across the globe, India is already poised as one GCC hub. The global centers are coming into India because of, one, socially active population, the young population, and the talent available across. It's not only the availability of the talent, it is the trainability of the talent. Yeah. And last but not the least, the mechanism in which the government is trying to bring up the infrastructure, which is ready for development, and then provide the support which is needed. Wow. So that's what is bringing in. Though, yes, we are not claiming that we are not impacted by all the geopolitical situations. We surely are, but that is something which does not impact the social harmony here. Through the ages, and it's 75 years already where we celebrate independence, 75 years of independence, it had been socially calm, though geopolitically there had been issues. But yeah, we provide India provides a very safe infrastructure to grow, develop, and the last but not the least again, the cost of manpower. You go and compare across the globe. It's not only the cost of manpower, I'll correct myself. It's the cost of manpower, cost of infrastructure, cost of real estate, everything brought in together makes a perfect
triple threat.
Makes a perfect profit equation.
Yeah.
And that's what India offers
Yeah.
in this world when the world is on fire.
Yeah.
We are on fire to provide supply as we serve.
Like that. Ajit, anything you'd like to add?
I
it's
agree
pretty
with
well
what-
covered answer, but
No, I agree with what Nilesh said.
yeah.
But having said that, I wanted to add that one of the biggest success points for India as a country is the culture that we have within ourselves. We have a tendency of helping others. We have a tendency of not saying no. We don't say no. And the other thing is that we are extremely flexible. When we combine all of that, and then we are asked to move into a place where you have to manage multiple things at the same time. Multitasking is something that Indians have adapted much more than any other country people that you see around.
Even the
That-
men. Even the men can multitask here, is what you're saying.
Yes.
I thought it was just something reserved for ladies. At least that's what my wife tells me.
So that helps us in adapting to situations. That has helped us, if you look at pandemics, if you look at all the current scenario of the world that's going on, we've been able to survive and sustain because of the cultural tendencies that we have within ourselves.
Okay. So in one sentence, what does a resilient workplace look like to you?
If I have to state in one statement, it is 1, adaptable, 2, scalable, and 3, diverse. That's what the workplace to me looks like.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
I would say flexibility is something that helps us being resilient.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of design in particular, it's that reconfigurability of the space to cater for the ebb and flow of a growing or shrinking population size in an organization. Now both of you are facility managers, right? And presumably you know each other quite well from different networking and social situations across the region. I thought you worked for the same company when I met you initially just a few moments ago. So kindred spirits and old friends is the energy and the vibe that I'm getting from both of you. If I could just talk a little bit about one of the big drivers of facility management is how can we kind of drive down costs, how can we save money, but then also one of the more sexy conversations is around technology. So is there any tech that you've kind of been integrating recently that's been able to kind of save you some money or drive down costs, but without sacrificing engagement or performance of the employees?
Absolutely. So COVID was a very good episode, I would say, which helped us learn the different requirements of every individual. COVID had offices absolutely empty, and in order to save revenue, everybody was shrinking spaces. When COVID went off and COVID was off our backs, the return to office was the biggest target to get people back to office, collaborate and work. Now getting employees back to office from their comfort zone of working from home. I don't know how many of us were working in half trousers and t-shirts and still comfortable, and getting back to office wearing formals and wearing those polished shoes every day was definitely not an easy task. Collaborative workspaces, integration of AI, technology was very important. Today, in India, even when we say we are emerging and growing, we are still developing. So the challenge is 1, parking, 2, seat, workplace, 3, the drive to work. Everything has to be combined. And what we have done, or rather most of the companies have done today, have developed apps where you know which desk is available, between what time you book that desk. Parallelly, the system throws you out saying, hey, if you are driving to office, this is the parking slot empty. We are now even working on integrating it with the entire workforce management, where If I'm driving down to office from a particular location, the other people who are driving or wanting to come to office at that time get a notification that, hey, Nilesh is driving in his car, he can accommodate 3 more, this is his contact,
That's
get
beautiful.
along, tag along. Saves the fuel,
Of course.
environment friendly,
Traffic friendly as well.
Absolutely.
Reduces congestion.
absolutely, makes it easier. From a facility management standpoint, all these booking apps and all will give me a dashboard which says, hey, you know what? You have a 440-seater office, which is going to be almost 100% occupied. This is the number of cups of tea you'll require. This is the number of support staff you need. This is how the air conditioning should work like. Because this, again, the dashboard will throw me how many people are coming. So I know what's the requirement of the air conditioning, what's the requirement of my supplies, pantry supplies, how much load am I going to put on the washrooms, so on and so forth. I can plan my staffing accordingly.
Yeah.
A step further is where the maintenance also goes AI. From preventive maintenance to predictive maintenance to intuitive maintenance is what technology integration can do. Today, my elevators tell me that the ropes are crackling, you need a replacement. They just tell me on the dashboard. However, the next, what it does is the elevators themselves to the OEM place an order, and the update to me comes in as the orders have been placed, the expected date of delivery is so and so, service has been booked, kindly send a notification to your employees that elevator number so and so will not be available. That's intuitive maintenance. And it goes with not only elevator is just an example. I'm sitting on the 22nd floor of my office and the coffee machine breaks down. My app tells me the coffee machine on this floor is broken. Go down to the 18th floor.
Yeah.
Or my favorite snack is available on 17th floor. It tells me your favorite snack is there. Don't waste your time going to the pantry of your same floor. It's all about collecting data, using it the right way, and that's how technology is being integrated. I don't have to use my access card. You no longer see people with lanyards and iCards swiping, waiting for the doors to respond. No, it's all FR, facial recognition, the biometric recognition, simple as that. Now, eliminating touch. COVID taught us to distance ourselves. Facial recognition. The minute I register myself, in case of an emergency, yesteryears was the access control log used to come out, then I used to calculate. Till such time that I used to calculate, there would have been a couple of people already missing. Today, the technology throws me a report. The minute the siren goes off, there's an SMS which comes in, 417 employees in office, 13 visitors, 2 support staff. This should be what you should see at the evacuation place. So technology takes over absolutely everything. Just imagine the usage of technology, and I'm taking you a little to the future where the facility management can play a big role. I walk into the office. I don't have to turn the AC on of my office. The XY sense would read that I am already in office. It will read my body temperature. It would read the ambient temperature and set the AC on its own. The pantry gets a trigger. Nilesh is in office. The pantry knows what exactly I need. Is it a coffee, a bullet coffee, a tea, whatsoever? It is delivered to me through a robot. Now, typically, customary, I finish my coffee, I have to go or call someone to get the cup cleared. AI will read it, the camera senses it, the cup is empty, the robot comes, clears it off, goes away. I don't have to set the temperature. The ambient lighting is delivering 350 lux at my tabletop. If the external light is high enough, it reduces the light on the roof. If it's dark outside, the roof lights through 350 lux at the tabletop. Technology can do everything for you, and integrating this is what we work on.
So there's some fantastic examples there. Ajit, anything that you've integrated? I mean, you represent technology, really. So technology, cost or time saving in your organization that you really want to just highlight? Obviously, some fantastic examples there, but...
See, cost plays a major role, undoubtedly. And if you look at cost, and if I have to split cost, the biggest cost is the real estate cost, the rentals, then comes a CAM, both combined the real estate, then you have the manpower cost. And then you have the rest of the cost, which is the day-to-day maintenance, the smaller things, which are housekeeping or security or any kind of thing.
Isn't the manpower more expensive than the real estate, though?
No.
Not in India.
Exactly. In India, if we have for an example, if it's a 100,000 budget, 70,000 is real estate and taxes and CAM, and 30,000 is rest everything, be it the manpower, be it the utilities, be it the services, be it the pantry supplies, everything put together. So it's a very skewed ratio as on date.
Okay.
Yeah, because real estate today, it's the availability which matters. Today, people want to be in the business hubs. And that's what I was talking about, DOT or TOD, target-oriented development or development-oriented targets, transits. So that's something which is skewed. Sorry, I
interrupted you as well.
No worries. So that's where the winning point is. You're asking about why India is better. That's specifically because the manpower cost is not as high as the real estate cost. And if I'm able to optimize the real estate footprint by creating the hybrid culture in it, I actually reduce the real estate footprint and it reduces the cost. And that plays a major role in the overall cost reduction. Now, if I go to the next level, then you have the manpower cost. Now, even if I optimize the manpower cost by reducing the manpower, there is a scenario where the manpower can operate for more than 9 hours. There is a place where people can still flex themselves for another 2 or 3 hours. People won't say no to it. Having said that, even if you look at the labor part and you look at the compliances that are required in labor in terms of the number of hours of operation, then comes the rest of it, which is the maintenance cost, the day-to-day operational cost. Now, in the operational cost, the moment you go into hybrid, which is the culture today everywhere, right? People say 3 days, 2 days, 4 days kind of working. There is a huge advantage of the real estate, but then there is a huge burden or hard work in the facility management side. Now, what is to be done there is what is important when he talks about AI. Now, there is something called a Pareto chart that we create when you take feedbacks. Now, if I was operating an office for 8 hours and today because of hybrid and that people are coming into multiple shifts, I've gone into a 16-hour or a 24-hour work, what happens is my washroom usage, as you was telling earlier, changes. My
Spread
water
out throughout the day.
Yeah, my water quantity changes, my tea, coffee quantity changes, it increases, right? Now, when it increases up, I have to maintain the quality. So what we generally do is to take a feedback. And when we take a feedback, every person has his own opinion, right? Somebody would say something is good, the other person might not like it much. What we have to do is to then create a Pareto of that, put that in the AI, do the analytics, take the 80-20 of the Pareto, and then decide what are the key things that you have to attempt first to make sure the employee is satisfied.
Okay.
Because the employee is satisfied, he will naturally come tomorrow again to work.
Do you weight it on seniority?
Sorry?
Do you weight it on seniority? I just wonder because you mentioned Pareto. Pareto's 80-20 law. And so if you're getting feedback, do the senior people have more of a weighted feedback like theirs is more important? Than, yeah.
However, it's changing. Means previously, like I said, it was a Sir culture where grades or designations did matter. With this changing work culture and hybrid work culture, that parity is going off slowly. It will take time, surely, because it's age-old habit of seniority and juniors and so on and so forth thought processes, which will take time. But yeah, that's what influences.
I would say it is reverse. It's other way around. You know, the people who are the real ground level working people, their feedbacks are today weighed more.
Yeah.
So if that person says that I need a coffee which is much more blunt than what you are giving me, I have to prefer that. Because I have to make sure that he comes the next day and comes with a smile.
He is the one who's earning revenue for us.
I think often people, when they think of facilities, facility management, they think that it kind of sits behind the scenes. I very much see it as a strategic driver for the business goals. Now, when the world or the workplace is on fire, I think that strategy is king in those instances. So how can you make sure that FM is seen as a strategic initiative to those in senior leadership positions?
See, if you look at buildings, let me start with the buildings. People today talk about lead buildings. Why people talk about lead buildings? Though there are a lot of things in terms of the capital that go initially in the investment of a lead building, investment of things which are related to the fit outs for a lead certification. But over a period of time, it gives huge benefits in terms of environment friendliness, what he was referring earlier, in terms of cost, operating costs make a massive impact when we do lead. And that is where facility management comes into play. Though there is a project or a real estate fit out coming into picture, maintaining lead every year is where the facility management plays a huge role in terms of cleaning the place, in terms of keeping the power PUI and PEI stable, in terms of the MTTR and MTBF being calculated properly, making sure that the next year when the parameters are measured, it complies to the LEED certification. So IFM plays a huge role there. And then comes the day-to-day maintenance. If the day-to-day maintenance is not done properly, the office starts getting into a sick building syndrome. So you have to make sure that the office does not get into sick building syndrome. Even if the fit out is extremely good, if the IFM doesn't do the work properly, the building goes sick over a period of time.
Would you say that COVID made it easier to position FM as a strategic asset to businesses? Because obviously coming into the office was a life or death situation during COVID, so cleaning principles and catering for everyone's individual needs kind of went up the pecking order and priorities, right?
Absolutely. So I'll continue from where Dr. Saib left. So it is one, IFM had been and continues to be the strategic partner. Previously, they were undermined, or we were undermined, I would say that, because it was facility management was purely taken as people who clean the offices and keeps the light on. Now it is not. It is with the consciousness increasing towards DEI, towards environment, towards governance. It's very imperative that you have some experts, some SMEs who are dedicated to doing it. LEED is one example which Doctor did elaborate on. Apart from LEED, there's well certification. And one healthy workplace can bring the productivity of employees up. Surveys say that if an employee has a good workplace and is satisfied coming to work, the productivity goes up by almost 80%. Wow. And that's what we maintain. We take pride in it. If you ever happen to visit my office, my staff wears a t-shirt which says, "I'm not a magician, I'm only a facility manager, but I know why you misunderstood." Yeah. Every facility guy has this slogan on the back. Because everything what needs to be addressed in terms of be it upkeep of facilities, be it maintenance of it, be it the satisfaction index of people, it's we who will be doing it. The productivity or core business is always different, but the productivity of the core business or profitability of the organizations are greatly influenced by facilities. And that's what integrated facility management is all about. Coming to your question on economies of scale and so on and so forth, yes, we are the highest spenders after salaries. If you consider any organization, the second largest expense on any P&L would be your facilities cost or utilities cost all put together. Of course, if we are the highest spend, we are no longer cost centers. We are now the profit centers, because this is an investment which goes into the upbringing, upkeeping, and motivating the employees. So we no longer are the cost centers, we are the profit centers now.
Lovely point. Other thing that's important in an IFM is that the best and the better way you maintain, the more is the life of the equipments that you have. So that actually reduces the capital. Now, if I am maintaining the carpets regularly, I will actually extend the life of the carpet by another 2 or 3 years than removing it in 5 or 6 years. Similar is the case with any equipment. You take a generator set, you take a UPS, you take a simple light. If you see light basically emits what is called lumens, right? You have a lux level. The lux level, if you calculate it, there is the most important factor in that, which is multiplied by 0.8, which is the maintenance factor. Which basically means if somebody is cleaning the lights regularly, the light output will be better and the lux level will be maintained. And so you don't have to replace the lights just because the lumen output has gone down. So that's how important, though, as rightly Nilesh said, many people don't realize the impact that IFM brings in terms of extending the life or reducing the cost of operation. These small things, which are the hidden jobs, make a huge impact. Similar is the case with internal air quality of an office. I was talking about sick building syndrome, right? The internal air quality plays a massive role in people being happy. Now, if the oxygen levels are good, it is not just because you have green plants. It's also because the ducts have to be cleaned.
Yes.
It's also because the dust has to be removed. Even if the external air is not that great, you naturally take around 20 to 30% of external air to make sure that the fresh air is increased in the particular place. But having said that, if the filters are not cleaned regularly, once a week or twice a week, if the filters are not washed, your internal air quality will go down. The suspended solids will go high. CO2 monitoring is something that gets integrated, right? So if the CO2 monitoring feedback doesn't come in the BMS, you will not know how a particular person is falling sick regularly. So those are parameters which generally people don't understand. But having said that, that is where IFM plays a major role. And so IFM is a very important part and a strategic partner in the business.
Can we get a little philosophical for a second? Because you came very close to the line of what I'd like to draw a distinction on. When it comes to technology, you mentioned the example of the coffee mug, and the technology could detect when it was empty and therefore send someone to clean it. That's very close to being aware of human performance. In fact, there's already technology out there that can detect human mood, performance. It can look at the skin tonal fluctuations and ascertain your body temperature and stuff like that. Exactly. So we have the ability, plus there's all wearables, Internet of Things and everything. So we have all this technology, but we don't have the permission. The employees don't have the permission yet. And I'm sure they're looking for wonderful ways. I'm sure PwC would love to find a way where they could get permission from everybody, because they became quite famous during COVID of tracking keystrokes. And getting in a bit of bother in the media for that, and quite rightly so. But then where is the line between we want you to perform at your best to being a big brother type scenario?
So,
and it'll probably come under your roof, by the way. It'll probably sit under facilities, and with an eagle eye from HR.
No, see, IFM is, and then when we say IFM integration, it is not only facility management. It has parts of administration, it has parts of human resource, it has parts of finance. So any typical IFM team would have a finance executive, would have a compliance executive, would have a PR executive. That's the basic, or the facility manager doubles for everybody. So, and I'm sure Ajit will agree with me on that. So now coming to
multiple
where you
hats.
start, absolutely. Yeah. And coming to what you asked, this is not too far. This is not too far. Today, the generation next is very conscious about well-being and wants to know what they are getting into. To come there are certain parameters that we need to understand, and even facial recognition, which I said, to install the facial recognition, we had to go back and take sign-offs from 6,000 employees saying that we would be recording your face, which will be used for your access. Now, apart from recording it for access, there are multiple things that we can do. The simplest of the simple things is when you are inside the office, there are monitors which keep on flashing, like you rightly said, the parameters of the air, suspended particles, oxygen levels, the carbon dioxide, monoxide, any other gases available, and so on and so forth, which is displayed. Now, the mood-based lighting, we can't implement it till such time the government permits. There's something called DPDP, the Data Protection and Data Privacy Law. There have been a lot of deliberations around it, and then till such time that it is made a little lenient to use it for convenience, that will not happen. So it is on the verge. The developments are there. It's only a matter of turning the key on and implementing them. But it is all about the legalities behind it. You never know how any factor can be used against an individual, and that's the reason why facility managers would always want to be a little cautious and we will always call it as compliance factor, to ensure that we don't get trapped into that do or not to questions. And that's where the compliance comes into play. Government support, the industry support, and more so the principal support is very important when it comes to implementing these facts. They are already on the roof, sitting there to be implemented. You have to just turn the key on. The internal air quality Ajit was mentioning, it is still on. 30% air that comes in today, it's TFA, the treated fresh air units turn on by themselves, and they treat the air as much as it needs, because you still need pollutants to a certain extent. I can't have 100% oxygen pumped into the facility. The minute I pump in 100% oxygen, it will blast.
Yeah.
Right? So that those parameters are automatically being monitored. It is only the interference of humans is needed, and I very, very frequently use this term. Artificial intelligence is no match to natural stupidity. The natural stupidity which a human has, the human sense, the human feel which we have, is something which is missing there. But yes, it's already on the rooftop. It's all about letting it in.
Okay.
Ajit.
See, the health parameters, as you rightly said, can be monitored by using a lot of technology, right? You can use facial scanners, you can use thermo scanners, and you can actually monitor it. But having said that, the thin line between that monitoring and like Nilesh said, the compliance plays a massive role, because there you are actually getting into the private data of a person. And we as organizations, what we do, we sign off and say that your private data is something that is completely kept private and cannot be accessed by anybody else. And thus, if somebody is in a condition where there is a health issue with the person, specifically I'll give you a simple example, a facility management guy going around the floor, and there is a complaint that is raised that he is feeling cold. You have hot pockets, cold pockets. Where the floor plate is big and we have a lot of air conditioning management being done, there are hot pockets, there are cold pockets.
Yeah.
Now, Nilesh sitting by my side says, I'm comfortable, but I am feeling chill. So then what do I do?
You hug.
That releases oxytocin.
It does, yeah.
Posh can come into picture, right? So what we generally then do is basically if we suspect, and there the physical contact comes into picture, right? The physical interaction comes into picture. We suspect that it is abnormal of somebody to be shivering. Then we get them to the doctor. We have almost all the offices in India have a small medical center inside, where the initial parameters can be checked. If the person is sick, we can take them to the hospital or something. So those are the things that IFM plays, the facility management team plays, without actually interfering into the personal data of the person in terms of the health conditions. Some people might be allergic, and that's where I said internal air quality plays a big role. There are people who are extremely allergic to specific suspended solids or specific smells and flavors.
Yeah.
So that is where the facility management comes into play. The filters get activated, and sometimes we use even AI for that. So when the AI, when the parameters get into the building management system, and the AI tells us that the parameters have gone beyond a specific level, we then increase either the fresh air, or we then change the chilled water temperature to ensure that the humidity levels are controlled. So some of the parameters related to that can be managed. So that's how an IFM plays a huge role, even in the personal health conditions of a person.
We don't have long left. We've only got 10 minutes, and I've got a rapid fire question round that's coming up. Before I do, I really need to take advantage of the fact that I've got two world-class FMs in front of me and ask a very poignant question for India, because I think it has a marketing issue. Because many people have heard of feng shui, right, globally, but they haven't heard of Vastu. Vastu.
Yeah.
Vastu. There's a marketing problem with Vastu. Could you explain to me, and you don't both need to get an answer here, but if one of you could explain to me what is Vastu, and what is Vastu compliance as well, because compliance is a key point here.
Okay, so it is not a statutory compliance or a government regulated compliance, and Ajit can vouch for it. Vastu is an ancient tradition or traditional way of building a house, building an office, or how the building has to be brought in. The Indian customs believe into 10 directions, and every direction has a different meaning to it. If I have to give you a small example, there are two directions which are called Agneya and Vayavya, Nairutya and Ishanya. So Agneya means something which has fire oriented, which has a source of fire. Ishanya is where the god resides, and these are some factors which come into play when we talk of Vastu. Vastu compliance is being aware of the directions of what should go where. If I put the softest or the vulnerable work into the Agneya cone, which is the fiery cone angle, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
If I put some heavenly work in the fiery angle, it's not going to work. It has to go to Ishanya, which is the direction of gods. So that's what the Vastu compliance is. Vastu is something which is Indian traditional ancient way of building buildings or doing work in specific directions. We do not think facing south and working facing south is auspicious. We would prefer looking at the east because that's the direction of the rising sun, or west, where you see the sunset to rise again, is the most preferred. North is again because the gods reside slightly about 187 degrees of north. So that's what would be the best direction. It is not a statutory or government compliance. Ajit, you want to build on that?
Yeah, I wanted to add the fact that many people outside India think that Indians worship only idols. It is not that. The basic Indian culture started with Panchabhutas, which is fire, air, water, earth, and sky.
And cricket.
So these are the 5 parameters.
That's the
And
sixth one.
Everywhere, the 5 parameters are used for any kind of design. So if you look at somewhere the north, northeast corner might be extremely useful for a fire point. But if you go down south, the southeast corner is used for a fire point. So there is an analysis of which direction the wind blows, which direction the sunrise at what time it happens, sunset at what time it happens. And there are a lot of parameters related to airflow as well. So if you look at all of these Panchabhutas combined, Vastu is built basis that.
Okay.
So what is believed is if you put your head to the north, now a simple logic, you keep a bed in a place where you have a bedroom, there is a direction in which you have to sleep. People think why the direction is important. It is important because the magnetic poles of the earth have a impact on our body. Why? Because our body has blood which has got iron in it. Now iron and the magnetism play a huge role. So that's a simple example of how Vastu plays an important role everywhere, whether it is an office or a house, plays an important role.
I appreciate that, gents. So let's move into the final part of the interview today, which is the quick rapid fire questions. So just answer in one sentence, if you may, to these 7 different questions that I have as quickly as possible. So where in the office do you do your best thinking? And I'll start off with you, sir.
Cafeteria.
Cafeteria.
Yeah.
Ajit?
Recreation.
The recreation. So that's different from the cafeteria?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the games room.
Ah,
where you
okay.
have table tennis,
Sorry.
carom, and cafeteria where you have all the food.
Yes. And in terms of the cafeteria, what's your go-to beverage? Is it chai, coffee, tea, orange juice, fizzy water? Are you
Nothing.
that fancy?
Nothing.
Nothing?
No.
No
That's the
drinks.
place where I have most of the people, where I have most of the employees. Because if I have to meet maximum people from all the verticals, that's the only place. And that's where I get most of the feedback. I get to see many people from different verticals and understand their requirements. That's where the most creative thoughts come to my mind.
Okay. But what is your favorite beverage in the cafeteria?
Chai.
Chai.
I do. I grab a cup of tea, and that's what I use to chat with people when they are in the cafe.
Yeah.
That's a place where people generally tend to give you a lot of feedbacks.
Oh, of course.
The coffee chats.
Yes. Sometimes you have to be really quick getting your coffee, otherwise you'll never get anything done, right, for the day. So what is one workplace habit that you wish people would drop, that they wouldn't do?
Wow, that's a difficult one. Personalizing workplaces. In India, it's a very typical thing where I would have a picture of my family, all my trophies, all my certificates on my desk. probably not the best thing to do, because with the cost of infrastructure, it's desk sharing, and then that increases the load on the facility managers, because Ajit uses a desk where he has a photo of his wife, and then I come in, I put a Ganpati photo there. The next day Ajit comes and says, oh, this is not the place, and I come back and say, oh, who removed it? That causes a lot of friction, and that's what I would always say. Come to workplace as if coming to a workplace. Carry your work related things, learn to cut off, leave your biases outside the door. Come and work, leave your work inside the door, and take it off.
I would word it differently. I would say clean desk.
Clean desk. You wish that they would do a clean desk, or they would drop?
They should do a clean desk.
Okay.
Drop the habit of littering on the table.
I like that. If you could redesign one thing in your current office, what would it be?
I would try to remove all the chairs and put bunny bags in it.
Bunny bags.
Yeah,
Bean bags?
bean bags.
Bean bags.
Yeah.
I'm 40, so no thank you. I'm not going to get out of a bean bag. I'm too old now. The knees and the hips aren't going to make
it.
But it's your preference. Over to you.
I would change all the fixed desks to height adjustable desks.
Oh, nice.
That's something which I had been aiming to. 50% I have already done, so that people get into a habit. And what I have very recently started is we play soothing music every hour for 3 minutes. So you know it's the hour. If you want to stand up, raise the height of the desk, stand up, work. That changes your pattern and then gives you some edge over the couch potato attitude or syndrome. That's what I would want to do.
It's almost like you've read my questions, because that is my next question is like, are you a music person in the office? And if so, what is your go-to playlist?
Soft, instrumental, 100% throughout the work hours.
It depends upon what kind of office I have. See, I have a mix of offices. Right?
But for you personally?
Me personally, I love music. And that too, it's more of classical. Light music is what I prefer.
Lovely. Hybrid, fully % in office or fully % remote? I'm thinking remote probably isn't on the agenda for you guys. But what would be your preference?
If my job has to be sustained, then it's hybrid.
I second him completely, but I would say hybrid, not only for sustenance, but also for better utilization of your workspaces, bringing in more seat utilization and usage per seat.
Okay, the serious part is, or the more important part is, the more you have hybrid or any kind of office culture there, you are actually giving job to a lot of other hidden support functions. So basically, if everything goes remote, then the possibility of the hidden jobs, which are the support services, completely get dropped. Now that could be a challenge as we move forward. But having said that, in today's scenario, that helps.
Absolutely. 10 to 11% of the workforce which is deployed in any office is support functions. And if we decide to go 100% remote, that 10 to 11% would be rendered jobless. Not that they would not find any job, but then the requirement will shrink.
There could be a retraining element though as well.
Probably not. Knowing the Indian culture scenario, probably not. The next generations may come up there, but it will be a loss for a complete generation.
Our economy gets also disturbed.
Yes.
The monetary rotation has to happen.
Yeah, I've heard examples of FMs kind of transitioning into community management in those remote scenarios. So how can you bring the community together for physical events and exercises? Because if you're just remote all the time, it's really bad for the employee and the culture of the business. So you do need opportunities to bring people together. So in that regard, I've seen FM change when they have gone to a more remote policy.
More remote, but that's still partial, because you still need collaboration, right? One brain will think only one way. If I have a mental block, till such time that I consult, and then this is the big beauty of this FM vertical, that we are so well knit around that we discuss, we talk about our own problems, and every brain thinks different. If people don't come to office, if I go 100% remote, there will be no collaboration and it will be only one way thinking. That's no good for any business.
We as human beings need to have a social touch. We need to have a social connect, and that's why 100% remote will not be successful.
I believe so also. All right, final question in this not so rapid fire series of questioning. So what is the smallest design detail in an office that makes the biggest difference to you?
That's the most difficult question probably you had kept for the last. There are multiple things. The smallest can be right from designing your reception to the details which are needed for cleaning. I can give you both the examples. One of my offices, designed donkeys years ago, has a reception which is not seen from the main entrance. You actually have to find for the receptionist to go and seek help, which is definitely not the best of the designs. And number two, one office of mine has a chandelier which is hanging about 38 feet from the ground, is in a dusty environment where there is a dust collector about 30 feet away from the chandelier. Who is going to clean that? With the HSC requirements and all of those things coming into play, that becomes a challenge. So these are very fine prints which need to be addressed. And in the current world where we talk more of DEI, that's another thing which we need to focus on. So I'll rest with Ajit for the...
Bring us home, Ajit.
Bring us back.
Yeah.
I would say the simplest of design is the toughest design, and that is the best thing that we can do, so as to make sure that the cost is maintained, the place is kept clean, and it is also easier for people to move around. When you do too many features on the wall, you do too many features on the ceiling, for us it would look good, but having said that, maintaining that becomes a tough job. Having said so, if you don't do that many features, it does not look as pleasing as that as well. So striking the balance between the featured design versus simplicity is something which is one thing I would love to concentrate on.
Thank you, gentlemen. Really appreciate you taking the time to come and visit us and participate in the OMG podcast. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Pleasure.
Oliver. Have a wonderful time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ajit.